Hi, structuring a lesson plan can be quite difficult for beginning teachers. However, the process of creating a lesson may be much more interesting if you understand the basic structures of a lesson. But before I dive onto the basic structure of a lesson, I would like us to remind ourselves of the importance of creating a lesson plan. And according to ITTT, the importance of a lesson plan cannot be undermined based on these four factors.
The first and foremost, perhaps, is that it's going to create a logical sequence for our lessons. If we didn't have a lesson plan, it is quite possible that we could go all over the place and it would become confusing for the students. By having this plan, what we've created is a structure that we can work from. So in effect, the lesson plan itself is a working document, then we can refer to it at various times in the lesson. If ever we're not quite sure what we're supposed to be doing next, we can just take a quick look at our plan and it tells us where we should be going. Another important reason for planning your lessons out is that it creates a record, a document of what has actually been taught, and this can be very useful if we're ever questioned as to whether we've covered the syllabus in all its details. Then we've got this lesson plan that shows that that has been done. The final reason, the main reason why we plan a lesson, is that it can be used for someone to cover your lesson.
Indeed, the importance of a lesson plan cannot be underestimated. However, here are the structures that you must have in mind when planning a lesson. The basic structure of a lesson starts with warmers. If you're creating a lesson, you have to incorporate warmers and make sure you create warmers that goes in line with your teaching objective. For example, if you intend to teach a lesson like asking for personal information, your warmer should be an activity that directly encourage speaking, because one of the main objectives of the topic, asking for personal information, is to foster speaking. So when you create warmers, you have to have in mind that the activity should be in line with the lesson objectives. And another way to do this is for you to write few data or facts about you on the board and tell students to try to create questions based on these facts that you've written on the board. For example, you can write your name, your age, and nationality, and your students should think of questions that might go in line with this data that you present on the board. For example, what's your name? That question should be tied to your first name on the board. How old are you? The second question should be tied to your age on the board, and what's your nationality, or where are you from? This third question should be tied with the country which you wrote on the board as your origin. So you always have to include warmers in your lessons. Personally, when I'm teaching general conversation, I always do spelling tests every day. That's how I start my class, because spelling tests helps to improve the spelling skills of students, and they get to do this all the time in order to help them recall whatever material they must have learned in class. The second structure you have to follow in your lesson is the lesson proper. You start with warm-up, and of course you should pay attention to time. Most lessons last between 45 to 50 minutes, therefore your warm-up shouldn't be more than 5 minutes. Approximately 6 if you want to delay the whole process. But after that, you have to dive into the lesson proper. And of course, a lesson proper has its own structure. I will discuss this in my next upload using the PPP teaching method. But for the sake of this video, you have to understand that the second basic structure of your lesson is a lesson proper. After warm-up, you have to dive into the main agenda of the day. Like I mentioned again, the topic that you may want to teach could be asking for personal information. After you must have done your warm-up, you have to write the topic on the board. Today we are learning about personal information, learning how to create questions and elicit personal details from our classmates. And after that, you've got to use the last structure, which is wrap-up. Every ESL lesson should contain a wrap-up. With wrap-up, you are barely doing an overall summary of the lessons that you've taught. And doing your summary, you should like mention the overall objective of the lesson and go through key vocabularies. Like the lesson I mentioned, asking for personal information. Your key vocabularies here could be first name and surname, nationality, age. And since your students are learners of English as a second language or additional language, it's important for you to try to like tell them to translate these key vocabularies into their mother tongue. Like nationality, you could ask your Thai students to say what nationality is in Thai. When you do this, it helps to foster understanding, and if you're dealing with older students, they will get to understand more what you mean by using these key vocabularies. So there you go. These are the three basic structures of a lesson: warm-up, lesson proper, and wrap up or conclusion. Like I mentioned, my next video will deal on how to actually structure your lesson proper using the PPP teaching method. Thanks for watching. If you like the video, I encourage you to hit the subscribe button and of course share the video with friends and family, and please do endeavor to sign up for channel membership. I love you all. See you next time. Bye.